Welcome back to the Naxxramas raid guide. In this video I'll be covering the Four Horsemen, the final encounter of the Death Knight wing. My name's Ciderhelm from TankSpot, and like the rest of these videos, these are intended for full raids rather than just for tanks, so feel free to repost them to your guild forums. This is a fairly complex encounter, and as such I'm going to spend a decent amount of time here showing you the movement and the positioning involved. In the front left here, this is going to be TankSpot's. What you got to remember about TankSpot's, he does a meteor, so your raid, everybody who's around him is going to want to be in fairly tight to dissipate some of that damage. And then we're going to go ahead and move to the back left here. The back left is going to be Lady Blamo. When she's positioned here, she's going to cast Void Zones and Shadow Bolts. The Void Zones, neither of them do a whole lot of damage. The Void Zones you want to move out of, especially in the beginning if you're one of the only 2 or 3 people back here. Lady Blamo is not actually going to be able to move at all. Once she's here, she's stationary, and you always have to have people in range of her. She starts spamming an instant AoE to everyone in the raid, and we'll kill them if someone's not in range very, very shortly. Okay, the back right here is going to be Sir Zeliek. Sir Zeliek he has a Holy Bolt and he has a Holy Wrath spell. The Holy Wrath is like Chain Lightning. If it jumps to multiple targets, it deals more and more damage. So you don't want to have people get too close to Sir Zeliek at any point in the encounter. Keep in mind, the Shadow Bolt from Blamo and the Holy Bolt can both be spell reflected if you have a warrior at any point tanking them. Coming back to the front right as you enter the room, this is going to be Baron Rivendare. This is originally High Lord Mograine. If you get a chance to do the Death Knight starting quest, you'll learn a lot about that, and it's pretty cool. Those quests are pretty cool in general, so if you haven't done it, you might as well. It takes a few hours, and we're seeing. Throughout this encounter, we're going to be moving back and forth. Now, the reason we're going to be moving back and forth like this is because each of these horsemen is going to have an aura around them in which they produce something called a mark. A mark is a stacking debuff, and as long as you are within that aura, it will continue stacking. So your raid has to be constantly moving throughout this encounter to avoid it stacking too high. Now what it actually does is after you get a mark, your first mark will occur after 12 seconds in the encounter, and every 12 seconds thereafter more marks will be stacking. The first mark after the first 12 seconds is not going to deal any damage at all. The second mark is going to be 500 damage if I'm not mistaken. The third mark is going to be 1500 damage. The fourth mark 4000, fifth mark 12,500, and the sixth mark is going to be 20,000, and it goes up from there. So basically you want to make sure that these are resetting. Now how you make sure you're resetting them is by moving out of the aura of each of these horsemen. And because of the way it actually is set up in this encounter, we're going to be moving into the aura of another horseman. Now the debuff that they leave on you wears off after 25 seconds, so if they're stacking every 12 seconds, you've got the first mark 12 seconds, second mark 24 seconds, and then the third mark is going to be 36, at which point your previous marks will have disappeared. So you're actually going to be on a rotation, ideally, where you're moving every third mark to whichever horseman you're trying to go on. Now we're going to go jump into the actual encounter here, and this will make a bit more sense as you actually see us do it. Notice when we're starting the encounter here, we do have people going off to the left and right here to get in range of where Blamo and Zeliek are going to be at the start. It doesn't seem to, I'm not watching it too carefully, but it looks like we can actually get all the way back there. We're probably a little cautious about this at the time, so you can go all the way back there. It doesn't look like it's going to aggro, and then I'm going to start this. Now notice these are all going to run to their appropriate positions on their own, so I hit him, and he's actually on a set path. That's why he turns like that. Stack my debuffs. This is TankSpot's. Again, he's a meteor guy, and I'm going to be switching TankSpot's with Baron Rivendare throughout this. We're going to have myself, one healer, and then all of the DPS with me. We're going to be on TankSpot's, burning him down as much as we can, so get the debuffs up there. On the right side, the front right, Baron Rivendare. Just one healer over there. Baron Rivendare is dealing an Unholy Shadow. It's just single target, whereas TankSpot's is more AoE damage. It's not a lot of AoE damage, so just 2 people there is enough to dissipate it quite a bit. Now as you watch, if you can see it, if you have the high-res version of this video up, if you can see the stacking debuff, the moment we get our third mark, which we just did, we're going to switch. I'm going to charge, take Rivendare, move Rivendare back to Rivendare's corner. There's a few different ways you can do this. This is how we do it. You can also just have the tanks in the same corner taunting the other mob to the other side, so you can get these 2 switch sides all together. We choose to keep the horsemen on the same side, but move the tanks. Now again, just the tank, we've just switched after 3 marks. All of the ranged DPS has come over here to work on Rivendare, and then after another 3 marks we're going to switch back, as you're going to see. Now this is only the melee side. As you watch this video, it's very obvious what's going on here, so let me go ahead and explain what's happening in the back of the room. In the back of the room, we're doing this without a dedicated healer. You can do this with a healer. It's probably ideal to do it with a healer, but right now we've got a Rep Paladin back there who's healing himself a bit. Notice someone just got out of range. You saw that AoE across the raid from Lady Blamo, so that's what happens when someone in the back gets out of range of one of those two, because they are stationary. That's their mechanic to keep people from staying away from them altogether. We've got a Rep Paladin healing himself, and we've got a Boomkin healing himself as well, and they're switching back and forth back there. When the encounter starts, the Rep Paladin is off to the back right, the Moonkin is off to the back left. Every 3 marks, like we're calling out on Vent here in the front, every 3 marks they're switching back and forth. When that's happening, they're going to be going at the exact same time, moving back and forth as they go through it, from Blamo to Zeliek. They're going to pass each other in the middle, and they're going to make sure they get in range of the other one as fast as possible. They're keeping heals up on themselves. Now I'm actually moving back here because the first 2 are dead. I'm going to move in range. Okay, so here's where I'm here, and I notice I can spell reflect this when it's available, so that's available for Prot Warriors. Keep that in mind. And as I start getting a few more stacks, I'm here relieving the range tanks. This is very, very easy damage for me to take. As I start getting a few more stacks, our Feral Druid is coming over from Blamo. DPS is coming over as well. If you have any questions at all on the Four Horsemen encounter, regardless of whether you're a tank or not, feel free to stop by TankSpot.com, and thank you for watching the Four Horsemen video guide.